Hey guys, LevelCap here, and today in gaming there are new rumors about Warzone's next map, Valve lost a legal battle with Apple, we're finally getting a proper open-world Pokémon RPG, and much more. Verdansk's days might be numbered. Cold War in Warzone Season 2 was called the beginning of the end on the official Call of Duty Twitter account yesterday. That almost seems like confirmation of long-standing rumors of a new map coming to Warzone soon. While the original rumor had the Ural Mountains from Cold War being added to Warzone in March, a new rumor is suggesting the release date was pushed back to April. That makes more sense as Season 2 ends on April 22nd. Launching a new map as a big event with Season 3 would be pretty typical for Warzone. Dataminers found an image of a generic-looking explosion in Warzone's files a few months ago. But the breadcrumbs about Warzone getting blown up at the end of Season 2 have gotten people to take a closer look at this image. When it's overlaid on the current Warzone map, it actually fits quite well. The combined image looks like a hint about an in-game event that radically transforms the map at some point. The new map is supposedly 80s themed and ties directly into Cold War. It will also replace Verdansk as the main map for Warzone. Season 2 added zombies and missile silos to the map. The rumors suggest there will be an explosive event at the end of the current season. All these rumors should be taken as pure speculation, of course. Plenty of Warzone leaks have turned out to be accurate in the past, but it's also not worth hanging your hopes on something exciting only to be disappointed when it doesn't happen. That said, I think most players would agree that Warzone is due for a new map. Verdansk is getting great, but it's been the primary Warzone map since launch. Despite all the season changes and Easter eggs, it's basically the same map today as it was on day one. A new map could shake things up and make Warzone feel like a fresh experience. It would also help to further integrate Cold War with Warzone, as right now they feel like pretty different experiences despite their content crossovers. As for how Season 2 is going, so far players seem happy with the new content and there doesn't appear to be any significant issues with the update. Weapon balance is also pretty normal, which is, well, frankly unusual for a season update. A judge has ruled that Valve needs to hand over sales data for 436 games to Apple. The ruling was a subpoena Apple filed as part of their legal battle with Epic over Fortnite. Apple claims the data from Steam is essential to their case against Epic. Valve argued it's irrelevant because they have nothing to do with Fortnite or the iOS App Store. And while that does make sense, it seems like Apple is specifically requesting data about games that are on both the Steam and Epic Game Store. The Epic Game Store has approximately 471 titles on offer currently, so Apple could be building a case about Epic's capacity to compete with other platforms. Valve is a private company, which means their sales data is not public info. They're concerned handing this data over to Apple could hurt their business as it gives Apple a direct look at how Steam operates. There's also concerns about user privacy and what happens if the data leaks. Since day one, this whole legal battle has been a mix of corporate grandstanding and altruism. If Epic wins their case, it would be a landmark ruling that benefits everyone, especially smaller developers. The open-world Pokémon RPG we've been waiting for our whole lives has finally been announced. Pokémon Legends Arceus takes inspiration from Zelda Breath of the Wild, throwing players into a world based on feudal Japan. Players will explore the Sinnoh region, fight and catch wild Pokémon while battling other trainers and, of course, going on epic adventures. Arceus is launching on the Switch next year. On a technical level, the gameplay footage doesn't look nearly as polished as Breath of the Wild, but it's not final art, so I'd expect some big improvements before launch. Speaking of improvements, before launch, 343 released new screenshots of Halo Infinite, and they're a massive upgrade from the original gameplay demo. Environmental detail looks way more refined, with distant rocks and trees remaining high quality. The lighting showcases multiple times of day, they all look like an improvement over the original demo's shady landscapes. All of the screenshots were taken on PC, which bodes well for the quality of the game's PC port and Xbox Series X version. Infinite is supposed to be a flagship title for the new consoles, and these screenshots at least look the part. Destiny 2's next expansion has been delayed to 2022. The Witch Queen was pushed back due to production problems caused by the pandemic. Like most game developers, Bungie have been working from home for the past year. While most developers had content that was already well into production at the start of the pandemic, it's gone on for so long that it's now impacting content they were only in pre-production on, if that. And while it might feel like DLCs and seasonal updates are slapped together in a few months, well, they're often planned and produced several months in advance. The pandemic has slowed that process to a crawl. With most developers running out of content on the back burner, it seems likely that 2021 and 2022 will be rife with massive delays. The System Shock remake is finally within reach. The game has been in development for nearly 5 years and was initially funded on Kickstarter. Over those 5 years, the game went from a straight remake to a reimagining, switched engines, struggled to find a publisher, and eventually got refocused into just a straight remake. The game is now launching in late summer this year and has a demo that you can play on Steam, GOG, and the Epic Games Store. As for how it looks and plays, Night Dive are doing an incredible job translating the original game's archaic but iconic visuals to a modern presentation. Dragon Age 4 won't be a multiplayer live service title after all. EA have given BioWare the green light to return the sequel to the franchise's single-player RPG roots. When development of Dragon Age 4 started in 2015, it was supposed to be a smaller-scale game than Dragon Age Inquisition. In 2018, EA canceled the project because it didn't have a live service component. BioWare restarted the project with live service in mind. Then, Andromeda and Anthem crashed and burned. Since then, and largely thanks to the success of Jedi Fallen Order, EA have embraced single-player titles again. According to Bloomberg and the game, all of the play and multiplayer aspects of Dragon Age 4 have been cancelled and the game will be a single-player only title at launch. In other EA news, the publisher has canceled Motive's open-world action game that we got a glimpse of during EA Play Live last June. The footage was a brief glimpse at a white box level with placeholder assets and gameplay. Considering the game was apparently in development for 6 years, having nothing but a janky white box level to show off seems like a really bad sign. As it turns out, the project was pretty troubled and had already been through one major reboot. Motive's most recent title, Space Sim Star Wars Squadrons, was a surprise hit for the studio, and they have other Star Wars games in the works, so it seems unlikely that the studio itself is in trouble. And before we get to our final story today, I just wanted to say happy Friday, everyone. We have our usual weekly gaming news recap video up tomorrow, so stay tuned for that in case you missed any of this week's top stories. Sony hosted a State of Play presentation last night showcasing Crash 4 on PlayStation 5, new Returnal gameplay, a new karate brawler called Sifu, some other games, and Final Fantasy VII Remake's PlayStation 5 upgrade. Considering Sony had just announced first-party titles were coming to PC 2 days prior to the State of Play, it was a bit disappointing to see nothing about what games are actually being ported. Sony also announced that they're shutting down their in-house development team, Japan Studio. It's part of a bigger restructuring that will merge Japan Studios with Team Asobi. Japan Studio is Sony's oldest in-house team and has worked on dozens of titles dating back to 1994's Crime Crackers. Teams working at the studio developed hits like Shadow of the Colossus, Ape Escape, and Gravity Rush. And in our final bit of PlayStation news, the PlayStation 5's internal storage expansion will finally be available this summer. The console includes spaces for an internal M.2 SSD, but the slot is currently disabled. At some point this summer, Sony will release a firmware update that activates the slot. They also announced support for compatible SSD drives. That said, it's also likely that any off-the-shelf PCIe Gen 4 SSD will probably work. And that wraps it up for today in gaming. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.